Welcome to Salute e Biohacking podcast. My name is Vanessa Bertinotti and my mission is to build a tribe that shares my same passion for health optimization and biohacking by bringing to the table experts and people who inspire me. All the information contained in this podcast is purely informative and does not replace medical or therapeutic consultancy. On this episode, I'm super excited to welcome Teemu Arina, one of the world's leading biohacker. He's a technology entrepreneur, a best-selling author, the founder of the Biohacking Center, and the curator of the Biohacker Summit. Teemu, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So I'm thrilled to have you here. Thanks for joining us today. Before we dive into today's topic, can you tell us about your journey and how it all started?
Well, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 16. I'm 41 now.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was 29, 30, I got some health issues related to stress, like chronic inflammation kind of things from stress and overworking and not sleeping enough and all that. And biohacking was my way of getting myself back to health. I didn't know it was called biohacking at the time. But basically, I started looking into diet, nutrition, different practices from meditation to breath work to all kinds of technologies to track myself, and also laboratory work to measure anything from gut microbiome to blood work to, you name it, like I've done it all. And yeah, after a while, my health improved a lot to the level where it was not even before I got sick. And I started sharing about that with people who were interested. And I started organizing the Biohacker Summit, which is the world's one of the top conferences for optimizing health and well-being with biological and technological tools. I wrote the Biohacker's Handbook. And that all happened over a decade ago.
Brilliant. And what's your definition of health?
Health is, well, someone might say it's the absence of disease, but like anyone is sick then by definition, because if you look deeply enough, like everyone will have some health issues. So what it means to be healthy is for sure that you don't have symptoms that are potentially life-threatening or on the way of everyday functioning. But as a biohacker, you're looking for optimal health or well-being, and optimizing health and well-being means that you are also focusing on preventive healthcare, where you are figuring out your genetics, your biology, behaviors, and figuring out how you can reduce the risk of getting seriously ill by a magnitude already decades before. So preventing degenerative diseases like neurodegenerative disease or cardiovascular diseases or respiratory disease. So whatever, like these kind of degenerative diseases are quite hard to treat once you get that, but you can definitely do a lot of things to reduce the risk dramatically already years or decades before. And the current healthcare system is a sick care system that focuses on illness and sickness, immediate things that can be done today, while biohacking and the true preventive healthcare system focuses on things that might happen years down the road, and you're already taking action today.
And why everybody should become the expert of their own health?
You have to become expert of your own health because no one else is going to be as interested in your own health as you are. So there's a lot of experts out there, of course, like doctors and nutritionists and naturopaths and whatnot, who can investigate what's going on and can help you. But no one is ever going to be as interested in your health as you are. Maybe your mother, but that's not guaranteed. So basically, by becoming an expert of your own health, you take your health also into your own hands, in a sense. You're not outsourcing it to someone else. And it's something that requires more than just feeling. It's not just experience. So if you really study things like genetics and blood work, and you start to understand through experiments also what works and what doesn't for you, which is the also biohacking, use science and technology and measuring and all that to get more objective understanding of a subjective experience. And then you implement based on as good hypothesis as you can, like based on scientific studies and based on expert advice, of course, intermediately, like you can and you should use experts, doctors and laborants and health coaches and whatnot to figure out what would be optimal for you. In the end, you are the one who takes those decisions and action as well. And you might be surprised how you might feel different on a different lifestyle. A lot of people, they think, they're in a certain way or they enjoy certain things, but all of these things are transient. And when you change your, let's say, diet and lifestyle, you might actually get to a place where you realize you don't want to go back to your old ways. And you might feel so good and have so much energy and perform so much better that your old lifestyle starts to look disgusting to you. So it's really a contextual thing, and behavior change is very hard. It's very hard to start exercising, but once you are, let's say, exercising regularly, it's very hard to stop. So it's like everyone needs to go through these transitions, of course, and so it has a lot about to do with habits and habituation and learning to appreciate something that you didn't do before, and everything new or unknown might feel a bit strange in the beginning, or you may want to like go back to your old habits, but it's really about learning to know yourself as well.
It makes perfect sense. And how important is self-awareness if we want to empower ourselves and feel better? Because many people don't really know what they are optimizing for, actually.
Yeah, like in biohacking, we are looking at something like, for example, the 20-80 principle. What is the 20% that will result in 80% of improvement? That's kind of the benefit side. But you can also think the opposite. Like, what is the 20% that is ruining your health? That is kind of contributing to 80% of the adverse health outcomes. And anyone can think like, oh, I should exercise, I should do this and that. But you also have a lot of habits that are not good for you. Maybe staying up late, maybe doom scrolling your phone, maybe sitting a lot, never taking breaks from working on the computer. Like there's so many different habits that even small adjustments, a little bit of self-awareness of how you conduct yourself, you can have cumulatively better experience, a better human experience. So self-awareness is, of course, it's connected to your habits, but it's also mindset. So like in life, we don't really do things because they are easy. We do things because they are hard. But sometimes we already give up before we even start. For example, with diets or whatever. You think you're in a certain way, all of that, but maybe you haven't really investigated deeply, like your assumptions about yourself. So like awareness, self-awareness, consciousness, meditation teaches that you're observing something like a thought or an experience rising, but you're not attached to it. And that is exactly what you're doing here with lifestyle as well. Like there can be so many attractive things to do in life that are not good for you, where you're compromising yourself. Most of our problems come from come actually from compromising our own needs and not setting the boundaries, or like not doing things that we believe would be good in our own interests. So it's really like letting go of that I guess need for validation, and also at the same time also like letting go of some of the insecurities or coping mechanisms. Many people are not like fully aware of their coping mechanisms, how our life experience is affecting their behavior. People binge eat, they worry too much. There's all kinds of things that we do because of life experience, but like become aware that most of our problems are our own making. Either they're external or internal in the way how we interact with the world, but in the end, most things are illusions. For example, do things expecting other people care, but most people don't really care at all. Like, let's say, for example, you have tendency to work really late because you want to deliver, and you assume other people have expectations for you. But the thing is that they are living the same experience, so they are also under pressure. They assume other people are expecting things from them. But while everyone else is like so focused on expectations on other people towards them, they don't realize like that actually no one is actually expecting anything from you, but they're having high standards for themselves. So for example, like, the same 20-80 rule, like most likely you might work like 80% on something and it only delivers 20% of results, but you can find a more intelligent way to achieve the same thing by focusing on only on the 20% that actually matters. And it's usually the important stuff. So we do all kinds of stuff because and like when you're not aligned with the cycles of the sun, with the circadian rhythms, with daily cycles and all of that, like it's very easy to get into self-sabotage mode. For example, Brian Johnson speaks about this. He's this kind of millionaire guy who was inflamed and overweight and like not very healthy, and then he has spent like in the last few years a couple of million per year to get himself back to health. And one realization he had was that he has kind of this evening Brian. The morning Brian, the daytime Brian is just fine, he's kicking ass. But then there's this evening Brian who sabotages like all the other aspects of Brian in the evening. So when he's fatigued or stressed or tired, he makes all these wrong decisions, stays up late, like eats crap food, drinks, like soothes himself with all kinds of activities, and like the adverse health outcomes come from this aspect of him that has no self-control. So yeah, like these are just examples, but it's not only about like learning about diet and health and what your bottlenecks are. It's also about learning about your behavior and patterns of how do you conduct, how you carry yourself, and like figure out how you can hack that system, which is you.
It makes perfect sense. Yeah. And what's the dark side of biohacking?
Well, the dark side of biohacking is kind of related to this, but if you go into like this hyper optimization that everything in your life is being tracked, you're highly concerned about your health, you're super concerned and paranoid about the food that you eat, all of that, a lot of that can turn against you in a sense. And that's a very typical question I get from people who don't know anything about it. It's like, can this get out of hand that you are like super obsessed, like tracking yourself, maybe even like to the level of being a narcissist doing it? where you're only focused on your own well-being. In a sense, yes, that's one way to be concerned. To me, though, like if health and health optimization becomes an addiction to you, that's probably the least damaging addictions you can have in life. Like you can have a lot of addictions, right? You can have a lot of detrimental things. Being hyper focused on health and well-being is probably not the worst experience you can have. But in the end, that can also be on the way of your own development or healing, because often when people get into these like serious diets or crazy health journeys is because of trauma. So they experienced something in their life that led them to become almost avoidant of dying. So like they're so utterly afraid of whatever happened to them in the past that they can't, they don't want to face that again. So basically the control over health becomes like almost like a coping mechanism that is a reaction or to the trauma that they experienced. But the thing is that you might not realize that once you are healthy and you already achieved what you were looking for, you don't need to be so extreme. So I see that happening, but in the end, it's like I said, it's not necessarily the worst thing ever. But it's in self-development, self-help communities in general is like this over-focused like attention on improving your current situation or avoiding certain pitfalls. Like it might never end until you stop the expectations towards yourself. If self-help industry would work, people would get what they need from it immediately. The fact that they become addicted in self-help shows that the self-development industry is not like fully realizing what it is trying to deliver, and it's kind of feeding off of people's fear and need, lack of something. So yeah, I mean, there's always like a aspect or darker side, but I would say it's the psychology behind a lot of these. It all kind of comes back to self-actualization, self-realization, what is driving you, and also awareness of your current life situation and what is enough, right? And if you're neglecting yourself too much, but you can also be overly focused on yourself.
And you spent over a decade into biohacking and health optimization field. You've seen the trends, which has been the different phases, and what are the people focus on right now?
So, of course, like diets come and go. In the beginning, it was a lot about paleo diet or superfoods over a decade ago. Now it is, and there was also like I think the whole low sugar kind of thing was pretty rampant already then, but now like the ketogenic diet has been kind of a big deal, but it's not even ketogenic anymore. Now there's like carnivore diets. I think a lot of people are more and more aware that vegan diets are not necessarily the healthiest things. Like, I mean, you can look at the studies and the statistics. It's very hard to actually implement a full vegan diet in a healthy way. You have to actually know a lot to do that properly, to avoid gut issues and problems, also nutritional problems, not getting enough certain micronutrients or amino acids. So now it's a lot about integration of lifestyle in general, like optimizing sleep and being smarter about exercise routine. So it's no longer about things like just bodybuilding or like high performance in that sense, but also smarter in having breaks and recovery days. And there's a lot of focus on the recovery part that was not 10 years ago. So people are very interested in ice baths and sauna and breath work and different like mindfulness techniques. There's a lot of studies also that show that these are like key, also like sleep optimization, of course, to have more deep sleep. So it's a bit more refined, the understanding of general public on what is good health. And it's also like shows on the coaching side. So it used to be that you have a coach who is a nutritionist, you have a coach who is into exercise, you have a coach who is into this and that, then you have a doctor. But now you have experts who are like into all of these. So they are helping you to optimize sleep, they help you to exercise, they look at your nutrition, and they might even play a little bit like a doctor by looking at your lab work. So a lot of this data is becoming more accessible to consumers also. So I would say like it used to be quite hard to get things like microbiome data or genetic information about yourself, or super expensive. Now it's becoming easily accessible and cheap. And also wearables, everything has improved a lot. It has become like mass market consumer devices. Then there is more novel therapies. So like these kind of industries always thrive from something new.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it used to be like blue light blockers and red light therapy and all that. Now it's more and more, there's interest in things like peptides and stem cell therapies and rejuvenation therapies in general, and also more sophisticated technologies, from anything from vagus nerve stimulators to continuous blood glucose monitors. So yeah, like it's an industry like any other, and there's trends that come and go. I would say also on the nutritional side, when I started 10 years ago, functional mushrooms or medicinal mushrooms were a big deal in superfood circles and people who are into raw food diets. Now it's kind of made a comeback. So there's a lot of like commercial products on the market that offer you replacements for coffee by having like a mushroom coffee for cognition, for relaxation, for immune system support, whatever. So there's this like increased commercialization of specific product categories. And then I would say a big deal right now is longevity. So there's the whole gold rush into the field of longevity. A lot of different supplements and therapies, and interest in extending something called health span. That's also what my company does, Biohacker Center. We focus on extending human health span. So it's not about lifespan, it's not about living longer, it's about living healthier years, having more healthier years in your life. Potentially you could extend lifespan, but it's more about avoiding that pitfall where 13% on average of your life is spent in a suboptimal condition, being sick. So like end of life tends to be over a decade of fighting different illnesses and like degradation and medical conditions. So I think it's a lot more awareness about those things and what can be done already ahead of time. We live longer naturally already. So that the question is like, okay, what can I do now in my 30s, 40s, 50s, so that when I'm in my 60s, 70s, 80s, I will have less issues. Unfortunately, when you are already in your 70s, 80s, it's quite hard to reverse some things, but you can already do those like preparations like decades ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what conclusion have you come to after 10 years of research in this biohacking field?
The conclusion for me, like the practical conclusion is when I look at my blood work is like I'm actually healthier than I was 10 years ago. I look younger than 10 years ago. I have more energy than 10 years ago. So for me, like from a subjective experience, it really has been a good investment. Like the return on investment is great. Mm-hmm. It's much cheaper to do this than deal with all the sickness. I also used to go to doctors. I used to have like all kinds of drugs that I had to buy occasionally for whatever issues I had. I haven't really had anything in 10 years. So like, and we have gone through like all kinds of things in the world, and it seems like I have much better physical and mental resilience to whatever is happening. So to me, it has definitely been a good experiment that has turned into a lifestyle. So I think I have increased my quality of life. I have achieved more in this period than the decade before. And to me, it's valuable. The hard thing is like what is the trigger that someone needs to get onto something like this and take it seriously? And usually people need to go through like some kind of health crisis to wake up. And I hope that with the information that I'm producing and sharing, people would have that more as an optional state, so that you don't need to like go through the abuse. You don't need to be inflamed, sick, and tired to turn your life around. But unfortunately, it's those kind of experiences that often lead to people taking things seriously. It's kind of like if you have money, you don't really care that much about getting more, but immediately when you run out of it, you will figure out the ways of getting it back. And health is kind of the same. If you're kind of generally healthy, unless it's already a lifestyle, you don't really think about it. But once you lose it, like you really do care about it. So it's like, how would you care about something that you already have and not take it for granted is something that people often need to go through, like some kind of crisis. I hope that the intellectual awareness of these things through podcasts and books and social media is like making people wake up to these things. I see already a lot of young people who are like into following Andrew Huberman's protocols, or they're excited about ketogenic diets or ice baths or whatnot. Like, I think the opinion leaders or the influencers who influence people's decision making, those are changing. It used to be rock stars who smoked and drink a lot of alcohol and like did all kinds of stupid stuff, to now YouTubers who are taking nootropics and like talking about optimizing their focus and energy. Entrepreneurs who try to run their businesses, who are not dependent of anyone else but their own agency. So I think there is a lot of good stuff happening, although on statistical level we see life expectancies dropping. People are sicker than ever, they're more overweight than ever, they have more health issues than ever. But as a general trend, I think we're going to the right direction in terms of public awareness.
And in 2019, you've published the Biohacker's Handbook, an encyclopedia of practical evidence-based strategy people can use to improve their health, optimize their performance, and extend their lifespan. You've explored different modalities to hack the body and the mind. Can you dive into this topic?
Yeah, I wrote the Biohacker's Handbook. Actually, we started writing it already in 2012, and we published the Finnish edition in 2016, and this English book in 2019. But in that book, we look at optimizing sleep, exercise, nutrition, mind, and work with biological and technological tools. And we look at those as systems that can be reverse engineered, that can be understood, that could be optimized, that there's a ideal functional tested approach to get anything from your gut health to brain function to peak level and functioning. And it's all unique. Like, there's like no single diet or protocol or anything. I'm not selling any of that stuff. Like, I'm not saying that there's I have figured out the secret that works for everyone. That's not what it is. Like, I'm popularizing science. I'm telling what from literature, generally speaking, works. And then it's your job then to figure out what works for you and keep yourself up to date So there's no single blueprint or formula, but some general principles do apply to everyone. I would say things like eating more nutrient-dense foods instead of nutrient deficient. So that's not about calories. It's not about if it's sugar or if it's protein or whatever. It's just going for better quality in everything that you do. Better protein, better carbohydrates, better fats, fatty acids. Like if you focus on quality, it will show up because you're what you eat. Then also the same for exercise or activity. Like people do a lot of things wrong. Like they try to lose weight by moderately exercising, but that doesn't work. Calorie restriction is actually more effective, but it's very hard to do if you get hungry and you have like yo-yoing through diet. So you have to figure out how to keep yourself satiant longer periods of time in calorie restriction. So intermittent fasting, certain like dietary hacks do work. And then in terms of exercise, people are over-exercising or they're not exercising at high level VO2 max to their VO2 max, or they they might run on a treadmill for an hour and not see the results. So there's more effective ways, and it's often reverse or the opposite of what they think what would work. Like people think like, if I cut out fat, I will lose fat in my body, but that's not the most effective way. Like cutting out sugar and increasing fat is the more effective way. But also things like this don't work for everyone. You have to figure out, genetically speaking and gut microbiome speaking, what is your composition, and you can actually find a more optimal approach. So testing is important to go from fads and fiction to reality. And unfortunately, a lot of people have like all kinds of opinions about things without actually testing or measuring them. And I have tested and measured things, and I know that I can trust my own senses. I know that I can trust my own intuition or what I've heard. Like I need to like seriously look at it myself, but being well informed helps, of course.
And you are finalizing your next book. Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, so the next book is called The Resilient Being. And it's at the resilient-being.com is more information about it. But it's about looking at human experience and longevity from the perspective of resilience. And so it really boils down to the fact that to live healthy and long, you have to build some capacity for resilience. And that's not just things like resilience means hard to kill. It's not that you're just stronger or wiser, but it's more about exploring the uncomfortable boundaries of human experience. So for example, heat alteration. So more cold, more heat into your day-to-day life, that triggers the pathways related to longevity. Restricting calories, not eating all the time, does trigger autophagy, which is one of those longevity promoting mechanisms in the body where the body is recycling damaged cells. Also doing things like exercise where you're damaging your body, but not too much, so that you have some super compensation, so some improvement from the activities that you do, to better or lower resting heart rate, to better energy reserves, blood flow, whatever. And then immunity, of course, like you need to challenge yourself. You can't just like completely avoid being exposed to germs and whatnot, but actually embrace it in some way, like basically rewilding yourself. And then there is also spiritual or psychological resilience, that you seriously question why you do what you do. Why do you want to live longer? Why is it all for personal gratification or for being able to provide bigger impact, and then unpacking all the package that you have from family relationships, parents, conditioning, culturing, like basically becoming aware how the society you live in is affecting your conditioning. I don't know if you live in Italy, like it might be a pretty crazy idea to cut down on pasta and pizza and like all these like things that your grandma used to cook if you want to live healthier and longer. So it's also understanding that you're a product of your environment, and yeah, it's like to live long is not easy. It's quite hard, and your task is being as useful as possible, as long as possible, so that the basic needs of humanity are being fulfilled. And if on average people are living like in a state of physical and psychological crisis most of their lives, I mean, they're not going to be nice people to be around with. And I think it's a personal responsibility to realize that you're not a human doing, you're not a human being, you're a human becoming. Your life is and time is limited, like, so better, do something useful. And it's not about you.
I agree 100%. Thank you. And on the 2nd and 3rd of July, you are organizing the 10th anniversary of the Biohacker Summit in Helsinki, Finland, the World's Top Biohacking Conference. I'm always very inspired by this event of yours. This year, the topic will be Unifying Nature, Science, and Technology. Can you tell us a bit more about this year event and why you choose this topic?
So for the last 10 years, we have been organizing Biohacker Summit. It's always been a lot about connecting the intelligence of nature and science and technology. So one way we have described biohacking is better living through science, technology, and nature. So biohackers are, as much as they are data-driven and driven by scientific evidence, they are also very nature-oriented and grounded people. So they're interested in ice baths and saunas and like wild whole foods and like whatnot. So to me, it's part of the whole biohacking movement. Is this nature connection. And in US, it's a slightly different approach. In US, I guess because they're not so connected to nature, it's very much molecules and peptides and like atoms and DNA and whatnot. So it's very like microscopic and molecules and supplements and all that. But here in Europe, it's a lot more holistic and nature oriented, I would say. And that's what I've been promoting for 10 years. So that's why we chose the theme of unifying nature, science, and technology. And one of the key ideas there is that there has been kind of a division between the two, between nature and then science and technology. So you have people who are very science oriented, like they only believe in scientific evidence. They're very much about evidence-based technologies and tools, and they are very skeptical and rejective when it comes to holistic like approaches to health and well-being, although most of the things that do work, like ice baths and sauna and like understanding your microbiome and its connection to the environment, most of the healthiest things actually that people have been practicing for thousands of years are quite holistic, and there's a lot of evidence about it. Then you have very holistic, nature-oriented people who are very skeptical about science and technology and authority. And to me, like, that's also a fallacy and a blind spot. Who only believe in natural remedies, who only believe in things that come from nature, but we forget that like 28% of our key medicines come from nature. They have been extracted from nature. They've been found in nature. Like anything from hunting poisons to anesthesia, like all of those things have roots. Even our heart medicines have been discovered in plants. So plants and trees are the primary chemists on this planet, and we have studied what they do. Even antibiotics, like most of the important discoveries in medicine, they are actually discoveries from just observing what nature is doing. And that's kind of the conversation I want to have, is like this division between nature and man-made explicit technologies and science is an artificial separation. There is no separation. They're very much connected, and good health is recognition of both. Like, you can't just be a holistic person just feeling things if you want to live long. Like, there's actually therapies and tools and technologies that can help you down the road that require a certain level of data-driven intelligence. And then you have a lot of this data-driven intelligence that might miss the fact that life is a multifaceted, complex experience that requires integration of physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual bodies, and also in a very connected and holistic way that we don't even know and have all the answers yet why certain things work, but they seemingly do. So we try to study something like blue zones, why people live long, and we haven't been able to figure out any single food or any single molecule or any single habit or behavior that has led to people living over 100 years old. But we have recognized in all of them specific characteristics and patterns and interesting discoveries that seem to contribute to long life. And so it basically speaks to the fact that good health is extremely contextual and very hard to pinpoint what exactly you need to do, but it's more about also like tuning in and feeling and living in harmony and in resonance with things. And that's a very spiritual kind of way of making meaning out of all of this. But it seems to be like somewhere in the middle where you connect all these different modalities. And what I call that is intelligence in the end, wisdom. Like, I think what is the opposite is wisdom, which is ignorance. Is basically that you think you have already the answers. You think, like, basically you're missing out from all of the fun by making extreme statements and extreme beliefs. And you can have extreme beliefs by being like extremely scientific and skeptical about everything. Mm-hmm. That's an extreme belief. And then you have people who don't believe anything other than their own direct experience. And that's also very limiting experience. So I think it's like natural part of being human is to be curious. And that's what I want to kind of promote. And I'm very happy that I've been able to run these events for over 10 years, write all these books, do this work, build this community, and we have a few thousand people coming over. So that's in Helsinki. And the website is biohackersummit.com. And that's where you can learn more about the event.
Mm-hmm. Congratulations for your mission. I think your event is really unique. It has a different like identity compared to others event. Actually, I think it's more a festival than an event. It's a very artistic. It's connecting like-minded people and so I find all those words, the keywords you said, like intelligence, wisdom, harmony, all together in this space. So it's pretty amazing, the feeling when you attend your event. So I'm looking forward to come also this year. So congrats for all this this energy you put in this event and all your support that you are doing. And this year, actually, I heard that your event will move to Japan in October. Why did you choose to do an event also in Asia?
Yeah, it's not really moving. It's happening every year in different places. Like this year, we have been. This year it's going to be Helsinki and Tokyo. Last year it was Amsterdam and London. So Tokyo one will be a bit smaller than our typical event, but it will be the first one in Asia. I think Asia is a very interesting market because there is so much wisdom there that people want to learn from for longevity. Like if you think of just like Zen culture in Japan, or you think of the food, you think of the longevity zones like Okinawa, mindfulness and like meditation and like minimalism and attention to detail. Like Japanese people are very much biohackers already, and a lot of Eastern mysticism and wisdom is what we are often seeking when we are lacking some things in the West. That's why people went to India. That's why they are relying on anything from Chinese medicine to Zen Buddhism for answers, even martial arts. So to me, it's a very fascinating world, and it's very isolated because of language barriers and cultural barriers and all that. So I've spent some time there and I've discovered so many cool things. So I want to organize an event there, and the opportunity has come, so we're going to do that. And it's also a huge market. It's like Japan is like 125 million people. It's massive market, and we get very little people from Asia in the end to our events in the past. But for that reason, I've been bringing more and more people from Asia and Japan. For example, we have had a 16th generation samurai who is coming to Helsinki also. We have had a Zen Buddhist monk. We have had a Japanese biohacker, martial artist, MMA fighter. So you can learn a lot of cool stuff from these people, and I think it also brings different cultures together to discuss what unifies us all, which is interest in the human condition and optimizing it and living longer and healthier life.
You also develop an app called Holo Habits. Why did you have this idea, and what this app it's about?
So Holo Habits is an application you can download on Google Play or Apple iTunes or App Store, and basically what it provides you is a way of changing your behavior and habits. We call those new healthy habits, we call those Holo Habits. And you do that by joining a community of people who are doing the same. So those are Holo challenges. So those are led by experts. And so you can do ice baths, you can do intermittent fasting, you can increase your muscle mass, whatever. And you don't do it alone, you do it with others. So you kind of post, it's like a social media for anyone into this like biking lifestyle. And it's done in a data-driven way. So we do provide a test kit that you can order, and it provides 33 biomarkers, anything from vitamins, minerals, to amino acids, to hormones, and also NAD or mitochondrial function. So to understand your longevity potential, and a lot of things when it comes to like these kind of lifestyle changes, they lead back to better outcomes in terms of your biological status. So the idea is that we connect data and behavior and community. And I think a lot of health and wellness online is very one way. So you listen to podcasts, you listen to experts on YouTube, you follow people on Instagram. It's like all these one-way broadcast channels of many instead of community. So the community is in the discussion section, right? So people who are also into a certain lifestyle. So we need experts who are like the thought leaders, but we need also each other to fulfill what we need in life. And I've been organizing bikers retreats, which I do. Last one was in Ibiza. We have another one in November. That's at bikersretreats.com. And people who come, like, they absolutely love it. And when they go back home, they're like, oh, I found new friends, but now I'm alone again. So, like, the same with the biker summits. People come there and they're like, cool, there's other people like me out there. And then they go back home and, oh, no one of my friends understands what I'm doing. So I want to connect people to the others, the people who are on the same path, and make it fun and social to change your habits. And yeah, that's what Whole Habit is about.
I think it's a great idea to transform people that are passive, so they are like getting information but not doing, and so it's a way of making people more active and connecting with people. So great.
Yeah, for sure. Like if you've never done ice baths, but you know the science and you're kind of interested to try, like Whole Habit is the best way to do it. You can like post yourself doing it and you see other people doing it as well. And in the end, you might be surprised like how much it helps to have others who are also doing it.
And in your health journey, what did you learn and how your lifestyle and mindset have changed during the years?
So, yeah, I mean, what I've learned for sure is it's not about better, faster, stronger. It's not like about more, but it's about less. And it's about in a more intelligent way. So how do you manage and conserve your energy? How do you bounce back from difficulty? How do you recover? It is really all about resilience, kind of what my next book is about. And to me, that's where good health comes from. Health is to do more. Illness comes from doing more where your limits are being tested, or doing too little where you're not like your organism basically needs some stimulation, but not too much. On the opposite side, well, to me, it's a journey. It's a discovery of self-awareness and actualization, obviously. And yeah, like 10 years later, like I said earlier, like I'm in a better state, but I also have more on my plate. So you can definitely do 10x of things that you did in the past. You just need to do it differently and more intelligently, and it can be more enjoyable in the process. And yeah, it's not really about how much. It's the repetition, it's the patterns of how you do things. Like if you just meditate once a month, not going to do much. But if you do it like on a consistent basis, so consistency is key. That's why people are so interested in daily routines. Like, what is your morning routine? What is your evening routine? What is your diet? Like all of that. Those are tools to learn some frameworks that might work, but in the end, it's how you conduct yourself, and that's a lifelong learning experience to be had.
So you said that consistency is the key. What about cycling and flexibility? Do you think it's also a key at a certain point of the journey?
No, it's all about being super extreme and uncompromising. Well, of course, like, because it's not really about willpower. It's not about being like, I mean, you can, like, there's people out there like Brian Johnson, for example, who is like super extreme about his approach, at least to himself. And, you know, if you're doing that, you're not going to drink wine. You're not going to stay up late. You're not going to do stressful things like too much. The only stressful things are the ones that you have done in a calculated way. And I mean, you can live your life in that way, but then the question is like, okay, are you really living your life? Are you really exploring things? Are you discovering things? Because everything is predicted and expected. So to me, it's a fine balance between the two. It's like to have enough freedom and flexibility, but also like have some kind of, I would say, like in Stoic philosophy, there's virtues and principles and character, and those are really what you're kind of developing here. You're building certain principles and virtues and character that are connected to your value system. And when you break your values, like it's a conscious decision. It's not like that you are doing it subconsciously or by accident. Like you're utterly aware that whatever you're doing, this is not like, let's say, healthy or according to your principles. But it's really all about the fine balance in life, because life is, in the end, is unpredictable and messy and hard to predict. And you might die today to all kinds of reasons, like even if you're the healthiest person on the planet. So to me, it's like also enjoying the ride in a sense and having more awareness doing it. And it's, you can architect inefficiency in many different ways. You can architect also like unhealthy things in your life, like all kinds of things. And surprisingly, some of them might be actually beneficial for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In the end, like there's this whole concept of hormesis. Too many vitamins is not good for you. Like too much inflammation is not good for you. You need both. Like you need antioxidant capacity, but you need also reactive oxygen species. There's this kind of ebb and flow between things that kill you and things that like protect you. And it's very hard to say, like, if you want to avoid, let's say, cancer, like it's so hard in the end. It's like you have to be extremely lucky in many ways, but you can play the cards in your favor. But going like super extreme can also be potentially risky. So and then there's this whole thing of unknowns. Like you can't know everything. Like we don't know, and probably a decade from here, years from here, we will already like laugh at some of the stuff that we were doing, at this time period. Like we thought something was healthy. Like how many homes have been built with asbestos, for example? Mm-hmm. Or like people really thought that like frozen foods and preservatives are good for you, and like the things that we thought were like the wonders of technological and scientific and societal progress are like, even like driving a car really enabled a lot of things, but now we're getting hypertension and heart attacks because we don't move enough. So the question is then like, okay, what is a healthy dose of anything, and what is like a lethal dose of anything? And yeah, I think you can go south with like too much focus on health also. Mm-hmm. And yeah, like basically what unifies us all is we are all going to die. We're all going to die, so better enjoy that process, right? So mm-hmm. like better be more aware. And the way how I think about it is at least you die trying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful, yeah. And can you tell us some of your favorite acts or routine? You don't have to do like a protocol or a list, just maybe mention few things that you like doing.
I do sauna every day. I usually do like infrared sauna every day, and I do regular traditional Finnish sauna maybe 3 times a week. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it contributes so in so many ways, general well-being. I also do a lot of red light therapy. I've done that for probably like 6-7 years every day. Yeah, it's about like building your own wellness routines. I would say like one of the big things for me is that I don't schedule anything in the morning. Like I don't go to meeting like if I can, like an hour after waking up. Mm-hmm. Like I try to schedule the me time as the first thing in the day, mm-hmm. and then I do the rest. So basically, a lot of people, they immediately start like executing their life and then they're so tired when they come back home that they don't have time for the gym. They don't have time to eat like healthy food, all that stuff, because their decision making capacity has been burned out. So I think if you have the ability and opportunity somehow to reverse that, I know it's very hard if you have a family, if you have like a 9 to 5 job, but I mean, you can do a lot even in that context if you are like conscious about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what is your mission today, and how you'll see your future?
Huh. Yeah, I guess it kind of like comes true that what I started building was kind of I stumbled upon this through personal hardship, and it's become a lifestyle and a profession and a mission and a career in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I will keep on doing this as long as possible. Hopefully, I will die with boots on, and I will, keep on producing the platforms and tools and events and books and information, whatnot is needed for uh, people to live healthier, longer lives. And to me, it's a lot about the community and family of people who are interested in this stuff that inspires me every time I meet people.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like a really cool space to be in. So I don't see doing anything else, and it enables me to do art and express myself in new ways every single year. So I don't see an end to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And do you have any particular message that you want to spread to our listener today?
Well, I hope that, this will trigger someone to start something new, change their behavior in one way or another, or like maybe come to our event or read more about it, or being fascinated about it at least. But to take action is the key. So I don't need people to just listen. Like, I need people to, after this podcast, like seriously, like start something new in their lives. And that's what I try to inspire through the work that I do. But yeah, like it's there because there's so many people out there who know about diets, but they don't change their diet. There's a lot of people who know about exercise, but they don't exercise. And I can tell you that if you don't make time and space for wellness, eventually you will have to make time for illness. And not fun. And it's tedious and it takes time. And maybe you need it actually to change yourself. But in the end, it's not worth it, like to wait that long. Like it's any day is good day to start, right? Any day.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Thank you, Teemu, for your insight and your wisdom. It was really a pleasure to talk to you today. By the way, I really love your statement in your bio in Instagram that says, somebody becoming nobody. I think it's expressed very well the human being that you are and your philosophy in life. I think it's a great statement, and it represents really well the person you are. So thank you. And and I will leave all your references and contact in the show note of this episode. And and see you soon in Helsinki for the Biohacking Summit. I will leave all the contacts of you, of the summit, of the Biohacker Center, so everyone can find all the address and find you on social media or online. So thank you again for your time, and see you soon.
Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you very much.
Thank you.